Sutam Devam Kamsachanooramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagatgurum. So we are meeting after a very long time. I had been to Berlin and then Holland, Netherlands, to visit our centers there. So there were no classes on Saturday or Sunday for the last 2 weeks. So we will continue from where we left, verse number 30, chapter number 11. The 30th verse was over. We will begin with 31st. But just to recapitulate, we see how the calm and charming and the beautiful form of God that we imagine in our meditation, it attracts a lot of devotees, especially Krishna. If you see the description that is given about his personality, about his beauty, about his wonderful power of attraction. So devotees are drawn to him in this way by his sheer beauty, physical beauty. So as part of devotional worship, it is okay to meditate on an Ishta who is full of loving, whose nature is loving, he is gracious, he is beautiful to look at. Naturally, we do not worship, or at least many do not like to worship God in his terrible form, because that is also a part of the reality. You cannot have a reality, we cannot have goodness without the associated evil in each of our gross interactions, or maybe in the gross world, you will find the sum total of good and evil always balances out each other. So, and the image of God or the concept of God is based on reality. So there is a terrific form, and Hindu or Vedanta religion, Hindu religion believes that in totality, God is charming, beautiful, and is object of devotional worship. But at the same time, one cannot ignore the terrific form. That is why when he saw the Vishwarupa of Sri Krishna, Arjuna was a bit shaken, because he was used to see the calm, charming, and beautiful form of Krishna, who was his friend, philosopher, guide, and also Ishta, you may say, a beloved, or you can say chosen deity for many people. But getting absorbed in it, in the terrible aspect, as Swamiji says in his wonderful song or poem which he wrote. One is Kali the Mother, and another important poem which is not so well known is Let Shama Dance There. It's a beautiful poem he composed. And the first part of the poem is just like the first part of the 11th chapter. All the wonderful things, beautiful things in nature, Mother Nature, he is trying to describe. And then Shama means the dark one. It's the same as Kali. So in the second part of the poem, he describes vividly, maybe it was based on a vision that he himself saw. And finally, he says, Shama dances in the heart of one who sees the same reality behind the good and the terrible. So one who loves the terrible. It's a very difficult concept to understand. How can you love the terrible? So that is what Sri Krishna is telling here, that a fully qualified devotee is one who accepts both the sublime and the terrible form of God, because that is the reality. So one has to base his devotion on the fact that God can be pleasant, God can be gracious to us, but sometimes even if it is painful, it is the same God that is expressing through that reality, through that form of his. So his devotion is not shaken by what is encountered by him, which is part of Prakriti, the good aspect of Prakriti or the bad or the evil aspect or the terrible aspect of Prakriti, which is also depicted in our Puranas as Kali. And there are other aspects, Shiva who destroys in his destructive form. So what does he destroy? He destroys the gross to take us to higher and higher realms. That is what is the essence of this 11th chapter. He says this Vishwarupa, you just ignore it because I showed you both, because you insisted. But there's nothing much to see. I mean, these things are part of nature. It's part of truth, part of reality. But what will you do? You just focus on the spiritual side of life. That is what the final goal is of Bhagavad Gita. So, and another practical aspect of seeing the terrible is, if you face difficulties, trials, tribulations, as Swamiji said, you conquer fear. The way to conquer fear is to encounter it, to face the terrible. That is the lesson he learned in Banaras when he was running away from monkeys who were chasing him, ferocious big monkeys. One sadhu said, Samna karo, means face the brutes. So he turned, and the moment he turned, all the monkeys ran away. So that was a lesson which he said in future. He told this fact, this incident in San Francisco, when he said, if you face the terrible, then it stops to terrify you. At some stage of our life, when we are used to the terrible aspect of the Lord, not wavering in our devotion, whether it is a sublime, we accept it, whether it is terrific aspect of God, with equal devotion and absorption, if we focus on the reality, then we conquer our fear. So fear is conquered by one who worships the fearful, worships the terrible. So in the end of the poem, let Shama dance there. He who worships the terrible Shama, in his heart the mother resides. It's a subtle poem or a subtle idea which Swamiji conveys, that if you make your heart a cremation ground of all desires, of all pleasures, all pain, whatever comes in life has to be, ends with the cremation ground. That is the wonderful philosophy of Kali, that why does she reside in the cremation ground? Why does Shiva reside in the cremation ground? Why is so fond of staying there? It looks rather, it's very difficult to understand this concept. But Hinduism says that only through this worship of the terrible or worship of the fearful, you get rid of fear. So finally, everything ends, all the gross things that we hold dear to our heart, they have to end at the cremation ground. Smashan Vasini, that is one of the names of Mother Kali. So people find it terrible and find it difficult to accept. What kind of concept of God is this? But Sri Krishna himself, in the 11th chapter, is showing to Arjuna his terrible form. So that is another way. But Arjuna, like most of the other normal devotees, used to worship God as charming, beautiful, calm, and gracious, always good to us, giving us good things of life. But when the bad things of life are encountered by us, when things that we don't like come to us, then we don't think it is a gift of God. Very rarely, only the saints think that whatever comes is something that has come from God and it has some role to play in my life. So, like most ordinary devotees, Arjuna is not prepared to see this terrible form of Krishna, which he shows in the Vishwarupa Darshana. So, but Sri Krishna explains to Arjuna further, saying that this Ishvara, if he is everything, he is in the bad, he is in the good. He is not only in the good, he has to be, because you have to accept reality as it is. You can't change reality. You can't take only the good from nature and enjoy it and hope or pray and wish that the bad things don't come. You will have to take totality, take reality in its entire totality. So that's why all the different phases of life, birth, growing up, and finally ending with death, it moves in cycles. So all the phases, Sri Krishna is now telling through his next two verses, 32 and 34, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. He is trying to give a glimpse of what he really is, because he sees the terrifying aspect of the Lord Vishwarupa, where he is gobbling up all the dead people, a large mouth and flaming fires, all the people who have assembled on both the sides, they are dying and entering his mouth. Seeing that, Arjuna is shocked and he is terrified rather than shocked. He knows the consequences of war are known to everyone, but he's terrified, and just to explain to him that having seen this, now I tell you what I am in reality. So the Sri Krishna is now explaining the purpose, what he is philosophically in reality. The Vishwarupa, to understand the Vishwarupa Darshana, verse 32 to 34, Sri Bhagavan Vacha, he says, Kalosmi loka kshaya krit pravruddho lokan samahartum iha pravruttah ritepi tvam na bhavishyanti sarve yeva sthitaha pratyanikeshu yodhaha. So the meaning of this is Kalaha, I am Kala. So one of the names of the Lord, the word Kali has come from Kala, one who devours everything. Anything that is born has to die. Anything that grows has to be destroyed. Some day or the other, the gross universe is built on this plan. Everything moves in cycles. Galaxies are born out of nothing, out of the black hole, and then again they merge into the black hole. So Kala does everything. Time is the devourer, or Loka Kshaya Krut. Time is all devouring. We want time to stand still. We want our youth to be prolonged as much as possible. But however much we try, one day one has to grow old, and then as death approaches, then the fear of losing one's gross existence empowers us. That is what Sri Krishna is telling. I am Kala, Kala Asmi, Loka Kshaya Krit. Loka means not just this world. I destroy the worlds. Loka Kshaya Krit. Pravruta, the great worlds, not only this small sansara of ours, but the whole universes, sometimes the worlds, the different worlds, different galaxies. Samahartum, to destroy. This is my role. Here, Pravrutta, I am engaged. Without api, tvam, without you being an agent. He was worried. The first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, he was worried that do I have to kill all these people? He has assembled there for fighting a dharma yuddha, or a righteous war. And he knows the consequences of that. So Sri Krishna is telling him, well, now whatever has happened, you have assembled here, there is going to be a war, there are people going to be killed, and you don't think that you are killing these people. They have already been killed. Their karma has killed them, all of them. That is, destroyed them in the gross. It's only the gross body that is being destroyed. That is what is very clear from the second chapter, which we discussed. He's telling him not to grieve, because after all, everything moves in cycles. Everything that is born has to die one day. So he says, whether you wish, whether you are an instrument in this or not, they have been doomed. All these people who are going to die, that has been already decided by their karma. That is decided by me. Not bhavishyanti. Who will live, who will not live, that is also decided. Survey those who are arrayed in front of you. Maybe they are on that side, some are on your side. Pratyanikeshu, in hostile armies, these warriors who have come here, they have all been destined to die. Some of them have been destined to die, or many of them have been destined to die. With or without your help, they are going to be destroyed. So, the essence, the Lord says, Bhagavanu Vacha, that is, the Lord, blessed Lord said in verse 32, I am the mighty world-destroying time, Kala Asmi. Now I am engaged in wiping out the world. Even without you, the warriors who are arrayed in hostile armies facing each other, they shall not live. So, in spite of such a long friendship, which Arjuna always considered Sri Krishna to be his friend. As a lifelong companionship, they were very close to each other. He would definitely love to see him as a loving friend and all. But now he sees the terrible aspect. And Arjuna now realizes, I know very little of the Krishna whom I thought was so close to me, just like a friend. But now I see his terrible aspect. The same thing happened in Yashoda's life. She was happy to see Krishna as a small child. But now and then, when he used to do mischief, his mother asked him, Yashoda asked him to open his mouth because he had stolen some butter or something and he was trying to hide it. So when she gets angry, he says, let me see, you have eaten this butter, you have stolen the butter. When he opens the mouth, for a moment she sees galaxies and many wonderful visions she gets, but immediately she forgets. By the Maya of Krishna, he makes her forget, and then she again goes back to Gopala as her child. Similarly, here, the question Krishna is anticipating Arjuna will ask, because till now he was his friend, he was his companion. At the most, he was a senior guide, philosopher who would guide him in everything in life. And now suddenly shows him and says that whether you wish it or not, or whether you participate in the war or not, these people have died. And he has shown that vision. So he asks, anticipating the question, who are you? Tell me who you are. You are not that Krishna whom I knew so far, so long. The answer is, he's saying, I am the mighty world-destroying time, Kala Asmi. It is one of the different various definitions that are given of God. He's Kala because as time he devotes the world, he creates the world, he preserves it, that it is sustained for some time as Vishnu. That's why we have the conception of the triad of gods. We start with Brahma who creates, then we have Vishnu who preserves, and finally Shiva who destroys these worlds. So in all the three roles of the same Ishvara, one point is common, is Kala. Kala is always moving. He is the Kala. The moment creation starts, time starts. Space and causation all are result of time. So that is why he is known not only as time, he is known as the Mahakala. So there is one of the names of Shiva is Mahakaleshwar. If you go to Ujjain, the Lord is known as Mahakaleshwar. So is time. So this immediately, partly, this is a part explanation of the whole reality of who the Lord is. So he's saying, in one aspect, I am Kala because I devour everything. I destroy everything. I create, sustain, and destroy everything. And everything happens in time. So one of the puzzles of who Sri Krishna is solved by Sri Krishna telling Arjuna that I am the Kala. So we see all the events that we see in nature, no matter how beautiful they are, they all get buried in time. All our old memories, all the wonderful incidents of childhood, young age, when you grow old, however many these cherished memories may be, some day comes when you have to leave everything behind and they just remain in our mind as memories. They are constantly, the Kala is constantly consuming everything. We don't understand. We celebrate our birthdays thinking, oh, we have crossed one milestone. But at the same time, people who are really serious, they think 1 year has been deducted from my life. I'm traveling towards life. So that is the meditation of death. So Time measures all the events. What was past now is present. It will soon be, will go into the future when this present will become the past. So the whole of space, Akasha, he says, contains all these manifested things. In time, they are consumed, they grow, they are destroyed, they're destroyed. So causation itself is this kala. So one, in the passage of our life, in everyone's life, the skala is a very important factor. The infinitude of time gobbles, as it were, this kala. The Mahakala gobbles up the kala, the different kalas, different lifespans, so many lifespans. Our ancestors lived, their children, so many generations have passed. Time has consumed all of them, and it's going to consume, and it's going to keep on swallowing everyone. Whatever is born is going to die. And this is one of the definitions of Ishvara. So, the one of the queries of Arjuna now is, I do not know what is the purpose behind all this. So this is the inquiry, frightened inquiry made by Arjuna. I do not know the purpose. Let me at least give me a hint of why all these things are happening around me. I like things to happen the way I want them to happen, the way I like them to happen. But things are happening contrary to what I like. Things which I don't like also happen. So the Lord is dealing with that mystery. He says now, in this case, in the context of the Mahabharata war, that is intent on wiping out the world. So he's showing that destructive aspect. And he shows that as Kala, death is taking place incessantly. It is going on. Somewhere somebody is dying. That is why Yudhishthira was asked by that mysterious being, said, if you answer what is the greatest surprise in life, I will let you go. So Yudhishthira very cleverly answers that the most mysterious thing is death is taking place ceaselessly, but nobody thinks of it and thinks that they are going to live and plan their life as if they are going to live eternally. That is what Sri Dhritarashtra, Yudhishthira says in the Mahabharata. That is the greatest misery. And Sri Krishna now is saying the same thing in other words, that as Kala I am devouring everything, so death is taking place ceaselessly. In different parts of the universe it is happening. Somewhere some people are dying, somewhere somebody is being born to die. So what is this is actually classified as a law of nature. So for scientists and other people, for people who can live easily or very comfortably without even having the concept of God, they say, what is there? It is nature. But what is this nature? Why does it happen? It looks like a catastrophe, because when you see the negative side, you think the world is a very bad place. When things go right, when everything is fine, you think, oh, this is a beautiful world that we are living in. The same person, different circumstances, different places, different geographical locations, or different phases of his life, he sees the same world in different ways. So both individually and collectively, Sri Krishna in this verse is showing him that death is inevitable. So now why is death inevitable? From a society's point of view, when the growth of evil surpasses the normal course, I mean, if there are more evil people to maintain the balance, these things happen. And he does it very effectively. It's not that he did not try his best to avoid this war. He tried to tell the Kauravas that, you see, that you can find out a way. You give them 5 villages, so many things. He wanted to do some kind of arbitration between the two. It's not that he didn't try for peace, but when things go out of hand, then the Lord says that there is no other way but destruction to maintain the balance. So, but for the knower of this fact, If somebody knows the Lord as Kala, as the time himself, has embodied himself as Sri Krishna or our Lord or the God whom you worship, then this nothing is terrible. Even this terrible war becomes a part of our life. Just as peace is part of our life, joy is part of our life, the terrible is also part of our life. So Arjuna is now given to understand, next verse, that destruction of Bhishma, who is in front, Drona and Karna, whom all of them are most revered to Arjuna, especially Bhishma and Drona, who was his guru. So he doesn't want now, he has suddenly panicked because in the first chapter, you see, he doesn't want to be the cause. Though he wants to fight for Dharma, fight for his own, fight the evil forces, at the same time, seeing some of his beloved ones on the other side, he doesn't want to be the cause of death for this of these venerable people like Bhishma, Drona, and Karna. But now, after the Lord assures him that you don't blame yourself for all the things that are happening around you. If you surrender fully. If you want God to take control of your life, you just be an instrument, or rather uh, take it for granted that I am doing it. The Prakriti does everything according to a stringent law of karma. So you don't have to be bothered. You play your part, you play your swadharma, you follow your swadharma, do your duty and relax. That is what uh, Sri Krishna is conveying through this verse. So now it is certain after this verse that whatever happens, independent of Arjuna's participation or instrumentality, as we can say, he is instrumental now. He thinks he will be instrumental in killing all this. If a righteous war is fought, he has to obviously defend himself and even kill others if he wants to win the war. So then if Arjuna has no role to play, if Krishna has already decided the consequences, he is anticipating in his mind and the question that then why engage me? Let me just go away. Let me run away from this battlefield. You do your duty as Ishvara. I understand you are Kala, you have to maintain a balance in society, and that is going according to Prakriti's laws. But then why involve me? But he doesn't understand that even he is part of that Prakriti. He cannot separate himself unless he is become one in spirit with the Purusha, one who is the observer, which is the goal of Bhagavad Gita. Everybody who has an ego, who has been considering himself as part of Prakriti, has to play by the rules. They cannot just say that now I'll not play by these rules, I'll just quit. You cannot. You have already entered the field. And why this is necessary, Sri Krishna, anticipating Arjuna's question, is saying, Tasmat tvam uttishta yasho labasva. So now to give him some motive, because he is so depressed that has to be goaded to fight this war. So how to do it? So he says there are two reasons why you should fight this battle. That is true for everyone, the battle of life. Tasmat tvam uttishta yasho labasva. Try to gain, I'll explain the meaning. Jitva shatrun bhungshva rajyam samruddham maye vete nihataha purvameva nimitta matram bhava savya sachin. Then he is telling him why you should fight. Because in this grand plan, you are also a part of it. You just become an instrument. Don't think you are the doer, or you just play this role, whatever has been given to you, without clinging to your ego. So fight, therefore, thou, tasmat tvam uttishta, stand, yasho labasva. You fight for fame, because this is a dharma yuddha. Fame and glory will come to one who wins this war. Because if you are righteous and if you have the strength and if you are chosen by the Lord to play, then why don't you play for gaining glory? obtain glory by fighting a righteous war, having conquered Shatrun, having conquered the enemies, Bhungshwa, and enjoy Rajyam, the kingdom, the material result of what you do is that you will enjoy the kingdom if you win. Otherwise, anyway, if anything can happen, you may die, then that's the end of it. But if you win, you have to fight with that motive in mind. That's what he's saying. Because Maya, by me, even before you have decided, even if the result is known to you, I know the result, they have been already killed by me. So what should you do? Don't think you will be blamed for all these things. You just become an instrument. Remember me and then fight. So that is a very important message, nimitta matram, to become only the instrumental, to be instrumental in the grand plan or purpose of God. We cannot question it, nor do we have nor will God listen to us even if we question fate, destiny, our karma, everything is moving according to the plan of Ishvara. So we even if we want to quit, we cannot. Even if we want to get involved beyond a certain limit, God is not going to get you involved. He will decide. The Lord's work in this verse is very clear, that does not depend on the agency of a single person for its fulfillment. So here we learn a great lesson, especially in the family. If a father thinks, the head of the family thinks, without me, these people will, what will they do? So every time when we do certain things, whether it is running a family or a small club or a small society or even a country, everyone thinks that without him, the whole thing is going to collapse. So Swami Vivekananda once said that that is the greatest fallacy of human nature. Everyone thinks what will happen to my organization if I die. It's the Lord's organization. He will decide how to run it, how to. So whether it is an organization, whether it is a society, whether it's a country, whether it is a state, it does not, the Lord's work does not depend, that is the essence of this verse, on the agency of any individual or any group for its fulfillment. It has its own laws, it will follow. There's very little we can change. That's why all these in these big meetings, they all say that we have to fight for this, we have to fight. Yes, we can make any number of attempts and to bring about peace. But everybody knows how difficult it is to bring peace, even in a small unit as a family. So people who perhaps do not have peace in their own families, they talk of world peace and human beings should live. It's very good as a theory. But when it comes to practice, we fail because it's not possible. The Lord's work, or what should happen and what should not happen, it does not depend on an individual or a group of people who think they matter, who think their instrumentality is very much necessary. As long as they think, they will work and they will understand. In the long run, they will understand that the Lord has already decided what is going to happen. So, what is the role? Then why should we participate? If nothing will happen according to our will, anticipating that question, Sri Krishna tells Arjuna that you will gain merit by participating. You think you should consider yourself fortunate that you are part of this. Your Swadharma is part of this Dharma Yuddha, and the Lord has chosen you to establish Dharma, to be on the side of Dharma, to negate or to conquer the evil forces of Adharma. That is the only logic, or maybe the only motive. Sri Krishna is saying, you are an instrument, but be happy that you will gain some merit if you participate. Merit by way of good karma, by participating. So no matter what difficulty you have to undertake or undergo, what difficulties you have to undergo, what kind of result will come as a result of, as a consequence of this war, whatever happens, if you fight for your Swadharma, then you will earn merit, and that is not going to go waste. So whatever opportunities Prakriti or the Lord provides you, It is a training ground. Somebody asked Vivekananda in the West, what is the purpose of life? He said it is very simple. This world is a gymnasium, is like a gymnasium where you are born to make yourself, where it's like a gymnasium where you work or where you strive to make yourself strong. That is the only benefit. It has no ultimate purpose. If you want to become strong and transcend and realize that you are the spirit, this is the opportunity that is being providentially provided to you. That is what Krishna is telling. It's a training ground. This whole world, your life, war is a part of the entire life of Arjuna and all the Pandavas and the Kauravas. Everyone is learning his or her own lesson. And if he becomes a willing instrument, some people are not willing instruments. They feel it's a big burden. They feel it's such a pain to be tolerating all this and so much of confusion in the world because they're not willing. So Swami Vivekananda once said, he told Josephine McLeod when he went to America, that a great sacrifice is going on. This sacrifice means yajna. That we'll come to that later. But in this great sacrifice, people who are willing, they undergo less suffering. Unwillingly, if you grudge and grumble and participate in, you have to participate. There is no other no other way. They have to participate in this grand battle or yajna or whatever it is. So this is going on. This whole struggle is going on. But Swamiji says those who are willing participants, they escape a lot of sorrow. They reconcile to the fact that whether we want it or not, we have to face this situation. And if we are willing instruments, then there is a great joy. To be a willing instrument in the hands of the Lord. Sri Krishna is telling again and again, you are just an instrument. Just be happy. If you consider you are the agent, then you will face a lot of unhappiness. Then you will feel, I should have done this or that. But if you resign everything and fight, you have to fight. There is no other way. Your karma, your swadharma will make you fight. But at the same time, you will enjoy even the good times and the bad times because you are detached from both. You don't get overjoyed when things go your way, and nor do you get depressed when things don't go your way. So fame and all those things, though he says you fight for fame, they are not an end in itself. It's a byproduct of resigning yourself to the will of the Lord. So if you lead an exemplary and a dutiful life, that is what this message is. And hold on to dharma or swadharma and maintain your character. Then it is a byproduct that the world will praise you. They will quote you. They will give you as an example. They'll quote you as an example that here was a man who lived according. So that is the merit which Sri Krishna is speaking. He said it's not that you want that merit, but the world will recognize you because you followed your swadharma. You followed without even complaining, without grudging. That is why Swami Vivekananda says in his Karma Yoga that a person who always grumbles, always grudges and always complains, the world doesn't praise him, or the world doesn't want to hear such people. Everybody knows there are difficulties. But one who constantly goes on grumbling and grudging, and then such a person is not liked. That's why he says, if you face all these problems for my sake as an instrument, then you will say you will get yasha, not that you will get some fame as in earning money or something. Those are gross. But the fame that Sri Krishna speaks of here is you have lived, whatever may be the fruits of the war that you get, at least you have followed your swadharma, you have led an exemplary life, which future generations will appreciate that he fought. Maybe at a great personal loss he fought, and for the sake of dharma, he didn't run away from the battle. So that noble deed, that character, that noble deeds that you perform are admired by all. So, and moreover, you are born as a Kshatriya. That is what he's saying. As a Swadharma of a Kshatriya is to fight a righteous war. There's nothing wrong. You can't expect, of course, people who are born with Brahminical qualities to take up the sword and take up fight. The whole world has been divided into these four categories by Krishna. It's nothing to do with caste. It is divided according to their guna and karma. If you are capable of fighting, or if you're capable of physical uh, strength, if you have the physical strength to overcome evil, then you are called as a Kshatriya, whether you are born as a Kshatriya or whether you are born as a Brahmin in a Brahmin's family. Like you see so many rishis, they took up arms, though they were born in Brahmana family. So it's your nature, guna and karma, that decides what your Swadharma is. And according to your Swadharma, if you hold on to your Swadharma, the Lord protects you, not only protects you, supports you in your endeavor. So opposing evil and vanquishing the evil that you see in society is the very nature of Kshatriya. And if you do your duty as a Kshatriya, there's nothing wrong, there's no demerit in that. So here another point he makes, that prosperity or no prosperity, that is not a detriment to spiritual life. Your attitude is good. Even a king with a lot of wealth can be spiritual. Or if your attitude is not correct, if you're not just thinking of yourself as an instrument, then even a beggar can be attached. He may be attached to smaller things. He may have a few possessions, but he may be terribly attached. And a king like Janaka, he might have the whole kingdom, but he doesn't think that it is his kingdom. So this attainment of yasha or fame, that becomes a stepping stone to Shreyas. We spoke of what is Shreya and what is Preya, what is good and what is pleasant. So it becomes a step towards attaining spirituality to the path of Shreya. So now with these two verses, the Lord is clearing all the confusion that is in Arjuna's mind by saying that you just don't take upon yourself the consequences of this war. I have already done what is to be done. I have decided. I mean, the Lord has decided. The Ishvara, the universal mind, is giving to different people the fruits of their own karma. Why should you be involved? I mean, consider that you are responsible or you are not responsible. That is a sign of ego. So all the enemies or all the evil people have already been destroyed by me. That has been predestined. And your role, if you play your role perfectly, without any fear, without any confusion, just as an instrument, then, and as a byproduct, by showing your valor and winning this war, you'll get name and fame. Not because you have gained something materially, but because you have followed your Swadharma. That is there. But now, before verse 34, there may be a doubt, just to remove all confusion, because you see, when he sees this vision, none of the others are seeing this Vishwarupa, and none of them are able to understand what is going on in the midst of the battle array. They are in the middle, and Arjuna is talking to Krishna. That's all what the others are seeing on both sides, except Sanjaya, who is given the divine vision, who is explaining to Dhritarashtra in the palace. Nobody else other than Krishna and Arjuna are witnessing this. So he may think, since none of them are seeing what he sees, is it an illusion? Is it this Vishwarupa Darshana which I am having? Is it an illusion that Krishna has created? Because Krishna is also known as Mayavi, one who creates illusions. He was very famous for that. Right from childhood, he used to show such visions to Yashoda and many other people. So the one who controls Maya is also known as Mayavi. So now this apprehension is addressed immediately after the verse number 32 and 33. The Lord, through this verse, he removes all the confusion by saying Dronam cha Bhishmam cha Jayadratam cha Karnam Tathányapi Yodhaviran Anyapi Yodhaviran Maya Hatastvam Jahima Vyathishta Yuddhasva Jetasi Rane Sapatnan. Means now he is giving some, he is not giving the entire result. It's like he telling a person who has just appeared or is going to appear for the exam that will get these marks. He's not revealing the entire result of this, but he's giving a few hints just to convince him that this is not a hallucination. It's a real vision. What I'm speaking, when Ishvara speaks, he speaks with certainty, not like us. We may have hallucinations, you may have hallucinations. That is what he's telling Arjuna. But I can tell you some of the results of the war he is disclosing. Drona means his guru. That is the one who taught him, not the spiritual guru, but one who taught him archery. Dronam cha Bhishman cha, Bhishma, who is his grandfather, Jayadratha, who is also a very great warrior, and Karna. Tatha, also Anyan, many other. He is not naming them, but he says many other brave warriors have already been killed by me. So he's just revealing to Arjuna some of the consequences of the war, saying that you can tally it afterwards, you will see what is going to happen. But they have been, don't Vyathishtha, don't be distressed with fear. You are not going to kill, they have already been killed by me. Yuddhasva jetasi, you shall conquer all these people in the battle and all these enemies. So you will be instrumental in slaying Drona, Bhishma, Jayadratha, Karna and other brave warriors. They have already been killed by me. So you will just be an instrument. They have already been doomed by me. So don't be distressed with fear. Fight and you will conquer your enemies in the battle. So now he is giving him, because he is, according to the Mahabharata, he knows. He has most of these people have been endowed with weapons which are almost difficult to face. For example, Drona had the boon of several divine weapons. And Bhishma, it is said, he had been given a boon by the Lord himself that he will die at will. He decided to do that. Of course, he was lying on a bed of arrows and finally he decided when he will die. But he had that boon. If he had not chosen to die, perhaps he could have lived on. So it is said that Bhishma was one whom death would not approach without his own permission. Means he was having the vara or the boon of Ichha Mrityu. But of course, knowing Bhishma was a very wise man. If you see the Bhishma Parva, Shanti Parva of the Mahabharata, where Arjuna is asked by Sri Krishna to go and take advice, that Bhishma is going to give up his body because he knew that I have done the wrong thing. I am forced to fight on the side of adharma, so I deserve to die. That means the physical body has to die. But though he chose when he should die, he chose an auspicious moment because he was fed up. He tried to convince all these Kauravas, but they were not listening. So he thought, since he had the boon of when to leave the body, he chose the right time, which they say is an auspicious moment. But at the same time, when he was lying on the bed of arrows, which he voluntarily lived long enough to meet the deadline of auspicious time which he had chosen. So before that, he was still available and for consultation. And Sri Krishna on one of the days, he tells, see, Bhishma is still alive. Before he passes away, take some wisdom from him, how to rule the country. That is the entire Shanti Parva of the Mahabharata, where he tells him what are the duties of an administrator. So they were all great people who were not going to die if the Lord had not planned accordingly. By Arjuna's own power, they would not have died. Drona definitely would not have died, but also Bhishma. Then there was another problem. that Jayadratha had a boon where anybody who kills him, his head would be burst into pieces. So they had to ensure, Krishna had to manipulate in such a way that the head of Jayadratha never touched the ground. So many things, there were a lot of problems, and Karna was very difficult to conquer because being an elder brother of the Pandavas themselves, though he was he grew up in somebody else's family, he was born with the boon given by Surya, sun, and he was given a weapon known as Shakti, which could destroy anyone and everyone. So all these four people, especially these four people, were invincible. So, and Arjuna, definitely Shakti was not used by Karna because he had promised his mother that either he or Arjuna will live. So he had reserved that weapon for Arjuna, to kill Arjuna. So in either case, he said he had told his mother just before the war, when she had gone and disclosed that you are one of the Pandavas, he said, anyway, you have 5 children. Either you will have me or Arjuna. I promise I will not kill others. But at the same time, he had that weapon which he had reserved for killing Arjuna, because that is the only way he could kill Arjuna. He knew that. But he had reserved that weapon, but because of Sri Krishna, this son of Bhima had to sacrifice his life. He was creating havoc, Ghatotkacha, and he was forced, Karna was forced to use the weapon because Duryodhana ordered him. He said, see, if you don't, he'll destroy our entire army. He was just killing everyone. So he had to use that Shakti, and the rule was that Shakti cannot be used again. It can be used only once. So that's how Arjuna was saved. So the idea behind this, if God wills, everything can be attained. Even these impossible things can happen. So there's no reason for Arjuna to feel that he's killing or he will do anything. Whatever may be his power, whatever may be his strength, Sri Krishna is very clearly telling him that if the Lord decides, only that will happen, nothing else. So now, after this, after these verses, Sanjaya is telling Dhritarashtra, Sanjaya Uvacha, 35 to 44, Arjuna now praises, after seeing this Vishwarupa, the first 34 verses, he hears everything. First, he asks him for the Vishwarupa Darshana. Then Krishna tells Arjuna that it cannot, this divine form of mine, universal form of mine, cannot be seen with ordinary eyes. So he gives him a divine vision, Divya Chakshu, and then the whole vision is described, the good and the bad, in totality, what the Lord is. Finally, he tells him what to do. And then, now Arjuna, having understood that he is not just my friend, he is not just my friend, philosopher, and guide, as he had thought. Sri Krishna is far, far greater. Only a little glimpse of his glory has shown, and I am overwhelmed. So he praises the Lord, and these prayers are used. Most of the small prayers that are compiled for daily recitation, they have been taken from this verse number 35 to 44. Many of the verses people just repeat in childhood. That is the tradition in India, that these are verses of the Gita. Whenever you have to pray or praise the Lord, you use some of these verses, not all. It begins with verse number 35 and in 44. So maybe 40 to 44 or 5 or 6 verses are very popular. They are recited, even if one cannot recite the whole 11th chapter, these verses where Arjuna is expressing his devotion or admiration, or he is struck with wonder by a small aspect of the universal aspect of the glory of the Lord. Only a small aspect has been shown to him, and he is so happy or so overwhelmed with devotion that he recites this verse. So Sanjaya is saying now, Sanjaya says, having heard the speech of Keshava, that is Lord Krishna, the crowned one, Arjuna, with joined palms, he is explaining what is going on the battlefield. trembling out of fear, having seen all those horrible visions. Prostrating himself, again addressed Krishna in a choked voice, bowing down, overwhelmed with fear. So, here there is a small, the way the words are used, I'll read what it, etat shrutva, having heard, vachanam keshavasya, keshavasya means Keshavas, that is Krishna's words, kritanjali means with joined palms, vepamanaha, trembling, he's trembling at the same time, he's overwhelmed, and that is why he's trembling with fear, seeing this huge form of the Lord, the Vishwarupa. Namaskiriti. Kiriti means he's one of the adjectives of Arjuna is Kiriti, one who is the crowned one. And Namaskrutva, having prostrated like did Sastang Pranam on the ground. Bhuyaha aha. Bhuya means again and again. He's repeating, trembling, but at the same time repeating these prayers. This is what Sanjay is telling Dhritarashtra. He says, see, now the whole situation has changed. Arjuna has understood, not only understood, he is overwhelmed by the wonderful vision of the Lord, and now he is praying to him, praising him in a choked voice. Sagad Gadam, Krishnam, to Krishna is addressing. Bhita Bhitaha, means overwhelmed with fear, Pranamya, having prostrated. So now, he is deliberately addressed, Arjuna is addressed as Kiriti, one who has a crown on his head. So one who has a crown on his head should not be fearful. So just to show the contradiction that even such a person is full of fear. Instead of being true to the personality of a king who should be fearless, he is actually panicking, is full of fear, is trembling. But anyway, Arjuna now recites the prayer or expresses his, right? Good. Arjuna Vacha, I'll just read this first verse, verse number 36. It goes on and on. Sthane Rishikesha Tava Prakirtya Jagat Prarishyati Anurajyate cha rakshansi bhitani disha dravanti sarve namasyanti cha siddha sangaha. So it's not that he alone is praying or praising. Suddenly he sees a vision and he sees that it's not just Arjuna who is worshipping him. He says, Rishikesha, that is the name of Lord Krishna, that the world is delighted now. Delighted means seeing your wonderful form, glorious form, and they are rejoicing in your praise. Rakshasas are also afraid of this great universal, even the most powerful Rakshasas, demons, they are all running away in different directions, having seen this wonderful visions, and all the hosts of Siddhas. Siddhas means spiritual people who wanted to have this kind of vision, having seen or having perceived this in their subtle bodies. Of course, here they are not present, these Rakshasas. All those who are evil forces are running away, and all the good forces, the spiritual people, are rejoicing at your wonderful vision. So this is, yeah. So this verse number 36 will close, and if there is a question, you can ask.
There is one question. If everything has been pre-planned by God, then how does the idea of selfless karma, law of karma fit?
The idea of?
Like if everything is planned by God.
The question is, if everything is planned by God,
how does the idea
then how does the idea of
selfless karma
fit in? Yes, selfless karma is also the idea that is planned by God. Who will do selfless karma? Who will do with self-interest? So the consequences of people who do karma through self-interest, they bear. That's as simple as that. So the Lord decides, if the Lord's will, he decides, the sweet Lord of the will decides that some people follow the path of dharma, some people follow the path of, for him it is a play, but for people who are involved It is not just a play. They take it very seriously because that ego is involved. They either feel that we are doing dharma, as I said, the agency does not go away. Then people will blame God for everything. In fact, that happened when Duryodhana, who was not completely aware, he thought if Sri Krishna has done this, then why is he blaming me? So he complains before he dies. He was on about to die when when Bhima kills him. He was almost about to die, and Sri Krishna goes to him, and there Duryodhana asks a famous question. He says, "You are to blame because I know what is dharma." The same Guru who taught the Pandavas taught me also. Janami dharmam nacha me pravrutti. I know what is dharma, but you have made my nature in such a way that I cannot follow it. Janami adharmam. I know what is wrong, what is evil. Not that I don't know, because these things are taught. They were students of the same Guru Dronacharya. So it's not that he has taught only good things to Pandavas. The same syllabus or the same education was given to both. Now, he says, I know what is dharma, what is adharma. These have been taught to me, but yet I don't know why I always tend to follow adharma. I can't avoid it. And I know what is dharma, but I cannot follow it. So this is a question, a very tricky question. Is trying to shift the blame and say, if the Lord decides, then what is my role in that? Why am I being blamed? So obviously, it's not that these feelings that the Lord does comes when you have the ego. When God deliberately plants the ego in a person so that he feels responsible for his actions. Otherwise, you see, in the world, nobody will have any control. If everybody is convinced and if there is no ego at all, then how can the world run? So God keeps, that is part of how the creation starts. If you see Prakriti starts with this I, this ego. Even the creation process, as it is explained in the Puranas, the Brahma first, he decided to be many. He was one in the beginning, but he decided to be many. It begins with the desire. And along with desire comes the gross body, comes the ahankara. So every human being or every creature, living creature and other things, they have this identity. Either identity that they are rich or they are poor or they are powerless this ego is necessary. Otherwise, the world does not world will not go on. The play of Prakriti will not go on. So this question itself does not arise that it is his will, but how many of them know? Most of them do not know. Arjuna, in spite of having this vision, again, ignorance came so many times. In fact, towards the end of Mahabharata, when he is about to retire, he forgot what he has heard, the whole 18 chapters. He said, you said some very nice things. Can you repeat it to me? So Krishna had to tell him the essence of Gita in a small portion of the Mahabharata, which is known as Anugita. So it's not that one always remembers the fact, though he was convinced at that time, otherwise he would not have fought. He was very happy to know that, oh, the Lord has done everything, now I am just an instrument. But then again, one forgets, the ego pops up, and then he feels, I am doing. So this agency does not go away. That is the answer.
Destruction, good, bad, they all have a place in the universe. So then when our karmas are exhausted, when we with our
individual soul, yeah. Karmas of
our individual, then there is also in the karma are getting destroyed, so that exhausted, but there is no randomness in which one get destroyed first.
No. So the question is, when the karma is being worked out, as Indian philosophy or Hindu philosophy believes in the law of cause and effect. let us not just say karma, because karma means so many things to so many people. The same work may not have any cause and effect relationship if one is doing it within a detached way. So a karma yogi's karma is not called as karma according to the definition of karma. Karma means that which falls under the cause and effect. That is why we have to say nishkama karma or detached work. So the question is, which karma gets worked out first, or in what sequence? Does first all the evil karma gets exhausted and only the good remains so that you enjoy? There is no sequence, because you see, the whole idea behind this cause and effect is the situation will decide which of the karma you will work out. That is the idea. So suppose there is a situation where it is a lot of pain, or a painful situation comes, then maybe some people say you work out the karma better because it exhausts quickly. Whereas there are some situations which make you accumulate more karma. You are either killing somebody, or maybe with a lot of uh, agency involved, not in a nishkama way as Arjuna was told. So if you do it with so much of greed, anger, then you are adding more karma. So it is not getting exhausted. So getting exhausted is a very tricky thing. That is why Arjuna is told by Sri Krishna that Gahana Karmano Gati, the way of karma to understand. That is why he suggests, instead of that, you just follow the path of devotion. No doubt, Karma Yoga is a path, but Gahana means very deep, deep to understand. So we cannot say which karma results in what consequence, and which karma works out first, which karma. It all depends on the sweet will of the Lord. So that is why the best way is to surrender and tell him, you do whatever you like. That is why the bhakti yoga is, and the other paths of meditation and all, they are being extolled by the Lord, especially the path of self-surrender, because there is a limit to human understanding. So no matter how much we plan that, okay, it's not like clearing some pending list. Oh, I have to finish these tasks, that task. Because many things we have inherited which are part of our karma, which we don't know. It is like having a lot of garbage in the attic. We have not opened the attic. We think, oh, our house is so clean. But when we open the attic, so many things, then we realize, oh, we have to do so much of work cleaning this. So things get accumulated. We do not know. Some of them are revealed to us. Some of them we encounter forcibly, and forcibly some of the karma works out. So the best thing is, if we know this is a difficult thing, the path of trying to work out our karma, so it will take years and years. So we do not know. It may happen immediately depending on how much backlog we have. But it is difficult to know which karma works out first, whether the rest, in some cases, all the good karma is worked out for whatever reason, and only a little bad karma is remaining. So we can see such people suffering at the end of their life. And we think, oh, because he's suffering, he has done some bad deeds, so he will not get mukti. That is not so. Some of the people who suffer a lot at the end, maybe they are released from this cycle of birth and death. A little of bad karma was left. So there is no rule as such that a person who dies very peacefully maybe had all good karma, or person who dies in a very difficult circumstance, maybe that itself was remaining. That much of pain was remaining. If you see Bhishma's end, he was lying on a bed of arrows. So painful it might have been. But still he bore all that pain and waited for the right time, and then he got his release. Others may not have suffered so much. That doesn't mean the karma of Bhishma was not worked out. So for some people, it may be, but it depends on the accumulation, the baggage of karma that we have. Okay? Any question? Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. So tomorrow we will discuss the great master, or Maybe yes, it is the great master. Gospel we had discussed last Sunday. The last Sunday when we had a class.